Welcome back to this segment of Spirit at Work with our guest, Mary Ann Boland.
Mary Ann, just picking up a little bit from what you said earlier, you mentioned that you love life. Okay, you'd also mentioned to me in anticipation of our program here today that you love work.
I do.
Now, some folks out there might not be quick to say, I love work. Okay, can you tell me a little bit more about that, why you love work?
Well, I'm going to use an analogy that may not be very good, but I grew up in a sort of an ethnic neighborhood, and everyone sat on their front porches, and we walked up and down the street, and we knew what people were doing, but we didn't know them well personally. But if we heard they were ill, we would send over a casserole or take care of their kids or something like that. Well, to me, the workplace is like an old neighborhood. It's where you come to work and people care about each other, or don't. It doesn't make any difference, but you are there with a group of people that are not your family. They're not your best friends, but you have a mission to accomplish. You have goals to meet. And that's the part that I like, I think, about working, is that you have something to do, and you have other people to do it with. You have a team to work with. And then I noticed in the last 15 or 20 years that more and more people bring birthday cakes when it's an employee's birthday. They go to their weddings. When my dad was working, that never happened. I mean, they're employees, they work together, but afterward it was done. Now there are no more front porches to walk past when you're coming home. It's a different world. And so the workplace offers that opportunity to have something to do, to have people to do it with, to have a regular schedule, that's not imposed, but that you must go to. That's what I like about work.
Let me ask this, too. I know part of your work, for a number of years, you were involved with Leadership Akron,
right,
including as executive director. What would you have to say about leadership from the various experiences you've had with people saying, gee, these are some real important aspects of leadership that certainly I would want to get out there and have people reflect upon?
I think the opportunity to bring, for now 26 years, of classes every year to meet the current community leaders has been such a benefit to the community. Every leader is just a human being, is just a person. However, what makes a leader, to me, is a good listener and a person who can say thank you and good job, and not just be above everyone else. And we have a lot of those in Akron, Ohio. And bringing classes to meet them has always given me such a great pleasure, because the young Leadership Akron class members, for example, would literally be sitting on the edge of their seats. They want to know, they want to learn. And sometimes what you would get would just be a canned speech, and then I would always ask that they spend time answering questions. And when they lose that sort of aura of the chairman of the board and hook an elbow on the side of the podium and then start to speak as an individual and say things like, my family always came first, and this is the chairman of the board, and says, I always made it a point to go home and have dinner with my children. I may have to go back to the office and finish a project for the next day. However, I made that something that I had to do. Or, whenever my children have something, I would work it out so that I could be there and work my schedule around it, because that was my goal. My family came first. Others would say things like, as an employee, as the owner of the company, there are many rules and regulations imposed on the company that I must follow the law or whatever. However, when there's an individual situation, I take care of my employees. I do that because I think it's the right thing to do. So from young people, young professionals, hearing all of this, the humanity of the leader is absolutely a very exciting thing. I love all that has been learned, and I've learned about leadership. Listening to me is because that's a busy, busy time that we live in, and people don't have time to just listen. And I think that's an important leadership trait.
Speaking of busyness, you're a wife, mother, community leader, and also someone who probably has broken through a few cultural restrictions in your day as you kind of moved up the ladder, so to speak. What would you tell those young people is the secret to living out a balanced life when they have so many responsibilities?
You have to make priorities. And I know that there was a time when I went to work full-time that the housework wasn't done as well as it was before. And I had to depend more on my family members to do more. But by making that expectation clear, it worked. I mean, I've got to do this because Mom's not here. Being flexible. When your husband is transferred to all these different countries and you're the one that's going to be responsible for getting it all packed up and unpacked and settled in, you have to be flexible. And I learned that. And of course, just caring about the people that are with you, your family members, your friends, the new friends that you will make, and caring about their situation in life and how it affects them. Takes the onus off of your own personal maybe sadness or sense of stress or whatever, if you just think about it from the aspect of some other people that are around you that are going through the same thing.
Some good points there, thank you, and we probably all need to hear them. There's a tendency for too many of us to take too much on ourselves and then get weighed down and get anxious. Hey, we'll be right back after a moment here for our final segment with Mary Ann of Spirit at Work.